Okay, it is 6:15. I'll call this meeting to order. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mark, just in time. Roll call, please.
Catherine Solon. Here. Angie Schreiber. Here. Dr. Bardo.
Here.
Bobby Brum.
Here.
Jill Maddock Nelson.
Here.
Kristen Matt Miller.
Here.
Scott Peterson.
Here.
J.D. Schrader. Danny Pyatt.
Here. Item number 2, citizens and delegations. Letter A, student representative reports. And in lieu of the student representative reports, I would like for Board Member Scott Peterson to read a text message that he received about one of our students.
I received this from Danny Bassel's brother Cliff, and I just want to read this. Not sure his full name, but number 32, Luke, I believe. Last night, like other times, we've had Annie go, and he has come up and thanks us for reffing and is very polite, never complains about a call. As he was being taken out for the last time, he made it a point to come over to me and Todd for sure and thank us for officiating and having a good game. I haven't had that happen in as long as I can remember. This is a good person right there. That is why I officiate high school sports right there for kids like that. Your team, your school, and your community should be proud to have a young man like that. So kudos to you, and he's proud to say I'm a family member.
We'll let the record reflect also that Board Member J.D. Schrader appeared at 6:17. Letter B, recognition.
First, we have students to recognize. We would like to give a shout out, excuse me, to our yearbook club co-editor, Maggie Neufeld. Maggie has done an exceptional job as co-editor, serving as a strong collaborator who always listens to the ideas of her peers and helps bring them to life. This year, she has created templates to streamline the yearbook process while ensuring that everyone remains on track. She even stepped up as photographer, capturing key moments at events so various memories are included in our yearbook. Please come forward, Maggie Neufeld. And Maggie, if you could just hold on just a second and let me read the other two students, and then we'll get a picture of all of you all. So the next one is for Kendall Cresson. Kendall, who's shown amazing growth this year as part of the AHS yearbook, she has stepped up to help new members of the club with Walsworth, along with learning more and more herself. She is more involved this year with creative processes, assigning herself to more pages and showing leadership qualities. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to the yearbook, Kendall. Please come forward, Kendall Cresson, if you are with us tonight. She's not here. Okay. And next we have Reese Matichewski. She was recognized. Reese has made her presence known this year. She has taken on the role of marketing manager while also proving that she has developed great leadership skills. She has been a big part of the entire process of creating this year's yearbook while finding herself behind the camera more as well. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to the yearbook, Reese. If Reese is here, please come forward. I don't think she's here either. Okay, let's get a picture of Maggie and Board President Pyatt. Thank you, Maggie. And next, we would like to recognize Jeff Rasmussen. We'd like to take a moment to recognize and appreciate the incredible work of Jeff Rasmussen. Jeff consistently goes above and beyond, taking on even the most challenging requests with a positive attitude and a can-do mindset. If he doesn't know how to do something, he finds a way, showing true dedication to our school. Beyond his hard work, Jeff also makes a meaningful impact on our students. He always takes the time to stop and say hi, and it is clear that our students genuinely enjoy these moments. Their smiles when they see him speak volumes about the positive connections he builds every day. Jeff, thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. Jeff Rasmussen, if you are with us, please come forward. He's not here, okay. Next, I have a group of staff. When I call your names, please come forward. Natasha Luer, Sherry Walrath, Dan Bastel, Lynn Cerneski, Tiffany Gollihue, Kelly Derline, and Melissa Gerke. This staff met with administration and our special education director, Ms. Wagner, on Monday to discuss adjusting caseloads. Each of these staff members stepped up to ensure that the students were being supported and families connected with. We appreciate your dedication to adjusting interventions and planning for academics, behavior, and social-emotional regulation. Your ability to fluently plan, adjust schedules, and support our students and fifth grade teachers makes a huge difference. Thank you for all you do to each and every one of you. And I'm going to invite Ms. McCann and Mr. Mock to join them for this photo out in the hall.
One smile. I can't be Whitburn.
Lots of laughter. Thank you. Okay, and we have one more. Our next recognition is for Mr. Teal Mock. Mr. Mock leads our district's new teacher program. I want to express the excitement that Teal brings to our new teacher program. Your leadership truly sets the tone, leading by example, with preparation, enthusiasm, and a deep passion for education. Thank you for being dedicated to creating meaningful learning experiences for all of our new teachers. Please come forward, Mr. Mock. Thanks, Teal.
Okay, letter C, we have a FFA student presentation.
Hello, my name is Shalyn Domke. I'm the Anigo FFA advisor, and I have two young ladies with me. This is Elizabeth Greif and Gracie Rogotsky. In the beginning of February, we attended the regional. It's on. I'm a loud person. I can't believe that. Goodness gracious, that's why I'm away from it usually. So like I was saying, in early February, I took a group of students to Gresham Community Schools, and we competed at our regional, which is called the Regional LDE, or Leadership Development Event, which is essentially a speaking contest. And these two young ladies, as freshmen, decided to do the FFA Creed, which is where you memorize the creed, and then after it, you answer questions based on the creed. And both these young ladies, for the first time, this is their first speaking contest that they did, and Elizabeth got third and is technically a runner-up if the second place person backs out. And Gracie received first place and moves on to sectionals, which sectionals is tomorrow. So we are headed to Pulaski tomorrow, and one of the judges explained he was a school board member, and he said, go talk to your school board. So I want to say thank you very much for letting us present, because we are going to give Gracie one more practice before she does her final one tomorrow. These both girls did really well. They actually went up against 16 students in their area, and it's just our local district. So tomorrow, Gracie will compete against 5 other students in our section. So we're going to change it up a little bit for you. If you don't mind, I'm going to move this because she's not going to be speaking in front of a podium. And I'm going to ask 3 of you to be her questions at the end. So she's going to say her speech, and then when she's done, you just ask these questions. Does she know what the questions are? She does not know what the questions are, and that is what is expected, yes. So these are literally, so they actually went in front of our FFA alumni a few weeks ago, and I had Elizabeth try just in case we were prepping her, and I had to prepare 6 questions because I wouldn't let them have the same, they don't hear the same questions. So what'll happen is tomorrow night, Gracie will receive the same questions, every student will hear them, but they go into a holding room, and then they say their speech, and then they come back to us, to the big room. So they don't know, so both girls got the same questions at districts, it's just they didn't know the questions were coming. So, but we are preparing because there are practice questions out there, so.
3 board members want to volunteer?
Okay.
JD,
Catherine and Scott.
Catherine, and Scott.
This one's perfect for you.
I saw you changing the order.
I promise I'll put it back. I can ask them. So she's normally not going to talk in front of a microphone. Are you okay if she doesn't talk in front of the microphone, or
Correct.
do you want her to talk in front of the microphone?
No, that'd be fine without the microphone.
nice and
Just
loud.
do what you're comfortable with.
The FFA Creed by Ian Tiffany. I believe in the future of agriculture, with a faith born not of words, but of deeds. Achievements won by the present and past generations of agriculturists, in the promise of better days through better ways, even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us from the struggles of former years. I believe that to live and work on a good farm, or to be engaged in other agricultural pursuits, is pleasant as well as challenging, for I know the joys and discomforts of agricultural life, and hold an inborn fondness for those associations which, even in hours of discouragement, I cannot deny. I believe in leadership from ourselves and respect from others. I believe in my own ability to work efficiently and think clearly with such knowledge and skill as I can secure. In the ability of progressive agriculturists to serve our own and the public's interest in producing and marketing the product of our toil. I believe in less dependence on begging and more power in bargaining. In the life abundant and enough honest wealth to help make it so for others as well as myself. And less need for charity and more of it when needed. In being happy myself and playing square with those whose happiness depends upon me. I believe that American agriculture can and will hold true to the best traditions of our national life, and that I can exert an influence in my home and community, which will stand solid for my part in that inspiring task. Thank you.
How will you develop your own ability to work efficiently and think clearly?
I will develop my own ability to work efficiently and think clearly by pushing myself out of my comfort zone and trying things. Because you don't know until you do things multiple times. You can't just give it one time and say, well, I don't like that. You gotta try over and over. So then that will help you be progressive because you keep going at it. You don't stop, you keep going and trying. Thank you.
What do you see in the future of agriculture?
In the future of agriculture, I see great changes. I see changes that we can be more sustainable with our land and resources, with changes in seed varieties to help the farmers grow their crop in climates where they can't right now, so that they can pull a good, they can get a profit from their crop so that they can live happy with their families.
How would you describe honest wealth?
I would describe honest wealth from money that we work hard for. Like farmers, they're out all the time. They're making food for America to feed us. If we didn't have farmers, we wouldn't be here because we wouldn't have food to eat. So they work hard. They get their money from feeding us. And that's not an easy job for anyone to do. So I think honest wealth is doing something that is not normally easy, but you worked hard at it to get your money. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
What's your first name?
Gracie.
Gracie.
This isn't right.
Okay, Gretchen.
You did an exceptional job.
Impressive.
Thank you.
Good job, you're a true Rogetski.
Good luck.
Gracie? When I was the superintendent down at Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, which is just south of us, one of our girls became the national president of the FFA for the entire nation. And the amazing thing is that she did what you're doing, starting out as a freshman and doing things that other people wouldn't expect as a freshman, up there also, to do. So there's lots of things you can do with FFA, and if a young girl from Burnhamwood, Wisconsin can be the president of the entire nation for the FFA, it can happen in Antigo also.
For those of you who've been in the district a while, both Gracie and Elizabeth are my first graders,
Oh, wow.
who have now returned to me as freshmen. Well, they were with me last year.
How
So,
about that?
so that's a little bit of, we're coming full circle. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
And good luck tomorrow, Gracie. We have confidence in you. Make us proud. Letter D, public comment. Do we have anybody? Nobody signed in? Moving on to item 3, consent agenda. Approval of agenda, minutes, financial reports, request for overnight travel, report of district new hires, district retirement and resignation report. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board approve the agenda, minutes from the February 17th, 2025 Board of Education meeting, February committee meeting minutes, report of district new hires, district retirement and resignation report, financial reports for February 2025 and March 2025, consideration of current bills, checks number 8720 through 8790 in the amount of $155,501.75. ACHs number 242-501-037 through 242-501-204 in the amount of $837,186.97, and wire transfers in the amount of $17,194.14 for a total of $1,009,882.80.
Motion has been made by Bobby. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I do not need to. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments of the motion on the floor?
I need to abstain from check number 242-501155 and resignations.
I need to abstain on check number 242-501-055.
Are there any other questions or comments of the motion on the floor? Hearing no questions or comments of the motion on the floor, the voting device is now open. We can do a roll call vote for this while Ben is getting the computer set up for future votes. So let's do a roll call vote, please, Deanna.
Okay. Angie Schreiber? Dave Bardo?
Yes.
Bobby Brown?
Yes.
Jill Maddick Nelson?
Yes.
Kristen Matt Miller?
Yes.
Scott Peterson?
Yes.
J.D. Schrader?
Yes.
Catherine Solon?
Yes.
And Danny Pyatt.
Yes. Item number 4, administration reports. I will turn this over to our district administrator, Mrs. Ojenski.
Attached, we have the Director of Business Services report, and Mrs. Fossbender is present if anyone has questions. Our next report is Director of Pupil Services and Special Education. Ms. Wagner is present if anyone has questions. Our Director of Buildings and Grounds report is attached, and Mr. Leiterman is present if anyone has questions about the report. Our Director of Curriculum and Instruction report is attached, and Ms. Stutzriem is present if anyone has questions about the report. Okay, next is the Superintendent report. Found it. Okay. On Monday, March 3rd, Mr. Leiterman and I spent the day with the Blue Design Group looking at exterior materials for the new elementary. We traveled extensively examining the exteriors of various buildings and residential neighborhoods. We did not really have much luck with that tour of Hortonville. But we did, in the process, Mr. Romatz was able to locate a different vendor who has a different type of man-made stone for the bottom of the building that is matching pretty close to what we were looking for. So we're very excited about that. They're supposed to be coming to Hortonville to show us the product in person and talk more about it. It is also pretty efficient, so it might be some cost savings in the long run. So as soon as we can get the exterior materials ironed out, then that means they can finalize the renderings so that we can start sharing and create some boards to post up throughout the community so that people can see the floor plan and what the exterior of the building will look like. So just a few little odds and ends things that have to be shored up. On Friday, our district administrative team, central office team worked with Carla Bublotz to draft our next 100-day plan. We had lots of things that have to be accomplished, so we broke that down into a 30-day plan and a 45-day plan and a 60-day plan to carry us throughout the summer as well, so that we're able to focus our efforts and make sure that we are accomplishing things that are time sensitive so that we're not leaving anything left undone. It was a great day. She also helps us with something that I feel our team in general has a hard time with, and that's celebrating the wins, because we're so busy trying to get things taken care of. We seldom stop and celebrate, you know, the good accomplishments and the good work that is happening in our district. So it was a great day. I feel like everybody left with in a good mindset, and we have no doubt what our work is for the next 30 days. So we have a clear plan ahead of us. So that's always good. It helps us to feel even more accomplished. On Wednesday, March 19th, Steve Romatz from Blue Design will be coming to our elementary. We have all of our elementary staff meeting at North Elementary. We will be reviewing the classroom layouts. Staff will look at cabinetry and have some decisions to make about some central location of things like wardrobes. There won't be movement of like base cabinetry because of plumbing, and then the need for aligning the plumbing for the first floor and the second floor. So there will be some conversation around color schemes and different items around the new building to allow staff the opportunity to provide some input. And we expect that the meeting should take probably about an hour. I encourage you to attend if you would like. They will see a floor plan, and they will see some exterior elevations, but it won't be like the renderings, just so that they have some sort of an idea of what is going on, and also providing them the ability to give some feedback and input into the building that they're going to be working in. So that will be happening
is that
this Wednesday.
Is that going on all day?
No, it's for 1 hour. It starts at 3:30. 3:30 Wednesday afternoon.
Deanna, could we have it posted that there could be a quorum of the board present? And that there be no business taken care of.
Yeah. And then the last thing is, well, let me ask, did anyone have questions about that before I go to the next item?
What school is it at again?
At North.
At North.
Yep. Steve will be coming on site, and then we'll be working with teachers around the various things that they'll need to be making decisions around or providing feedback. Yep. Okay, then the last thing is, I need to know how many people are available for us to hold our expulsion hearings on Monday. We need to move one more, so it would be a combined total of 3.
So what's your time frame look like?
We would start at 6:15, I believe. No?
That's gonna go really late then.
Can you be there earlier, Kristen, than 6:15 on Monday? I know 2 people cannot make it Monday, but as long as we have a quorum, we still can move forward.
I'm good.
The earliest I could be here is like 5, how long, like 5:37, I would say. To be
Okay.
you know,
So
like,
we could do 5:45.
that would, yes.
Does anybody else know if you can be here on Monday? I cannot, I'm out of town.
Okay, Dr. Bardo can?
Yes.
Kristen, you are able to? Okay. Bobby,
I don't know.
you don't know? Okay. JD, what about you?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
Scott? Catherine?
And I'll just comment, I had already responded, so
Yes.
Glenda's aware I will be out of state, so I'm not available.
Sure, yep. That is our spring break. That's the hard part about that. But we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If JD can participate, we would have 5. And that's without you,
For
Bobby.
sure.
I don't have you written down. Right, 1, 2,
So we need to all make sure that we are there,
Yes.
yes,
so we don't have to, yeah.
yes, absolutely. Okay, we'll send a calendar invite.
Can I make a statement?
Sure,
And
absolutely.
it's for Trina. When there are multiple expulsions, what needs to happen is that the parents and the students need to be separated. So whoever comes in first, they're going to come in, but you're going to need someone to greet the next set that comes in and put them in a classroom where they cannot hear what's going on in here. And then again with the third one, putting them somewhere else on this floor where they can't see, hear, or talk to anyone who has been in here.
So will you post that as 3 separate meetings?
Yes, it would have to be 3 separate meetings, because you have to go in and out of closed session for all 3 of them.
Yep. And we will post it like we do our committees, not to begin before a certain time.
We can't determine the order we're gonna do them in,
That would be Glenda's discretion to put them in the order.
because then you wouldn't have to worry so much about.
Yep.
Okay, so you have a quorum of 5, and possibly Bobby, she'll check her schedule. So you could potentially have 6 board members. Yeah. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
we will move on to item,
One,
yes, ma'am.
did you offer Director of Technology report and I missed it?
Oh, shoot. No, I did not. I missed it. Sorry about that. So we also have attached the Director of Technology report, and Mrs. Mushak is on virtual with us if anyone has questions. Thank you for catching that, Ms. Madam Nelson. No? Okay, that's all. Thank you.
I apologize, I'm slow. I did want to comment, I don't have a question. I appreciate the sharing and the shout out for Mr. Wilhelm and the Mamma Mia production, because there is so much work that goes into that, and I really appreciated the recognition from admin for that. So thank you for including that, it's really important. Thank you very much.
It's not easy putting on a show like that.
Thank you.
Item 5, board action. Mr. Wilhelm, are we ready for the computer for voting? Yes. Okay. We will move on to letter A, instructional minutes makeup day. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board to approve converting the April 21st, 2025 from a non-attendance day to an instructional day.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion?
So unfortunately, due to weather illness, we've exceeded our allocated snow days. So in looking at the calendar and finding the best opportunity to make that time up, it was brought to committee to make April 21st an instructional day, which was originally scheduled as a non-student attendance day. And so it was recommended by committee to bring it to the full board.
Are there any other questions or discussion of the motion on the floor? Angie, I saw you.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the administration for calling the snow days when you needed to, because that is much appreciated.
Yes.
So, and I'm sure parents with, young children also appreciate the fact that it happens most, at night versus scrambling in the mornings. So, so thank you for that. My only concern with moving this to an instructional day is it's the day after Easter, and if people have planned for a longer weekend to spend with family and stuff like that, then they're gonna be missing anyways. So what was the thought of just adding the day to the end of the school year? Was that ever discussed?
So the reason for adding it on Easter Monday, so to speak, is because if we added it on the end of the year, then kids would have to come back after Memorial Day weekend. So that was why we elected to have that Monday off, because I think that typically in the past, we don't usually have that Monday off, so we used it as a makeup day.
Okay. Not to, we all live in Wisconsin, and March has about 6-7 winter, summers, transitions. So,
True.
who's to say we're not gonna need some more snow days as well? So
Maybe this week.
yeah, it's possible. So my concern is that, if we approve this, and then we're gonna have to extend the school year anyways, so I think, I would like to see it at the end of the year. Just because, like I said, families may have planned for a long weekend.
Can't we do something virtual? Those kind of things don't count, or?
Well, we haven't done anything virtual. We've had some conversation about what the possibilities of if we have snow on Wednesday. We have the possibility of sending work home and having to come up with some way in which we can be held accountable for that instruction. But as far as a plan right now, no, because when we came back, when we started, that was one of the first things that we did. We talked about when we had snow days, they would be snow days. It would not be virtual learning days. But that's not to mean that we can't. It's just not something we have spent time on.
Those questions were also addressed within committee. I think Kristen pointed out too, just a staffing concern to ensure that we have adequate staffing numbers for that reason. And then we also talked about, asked and confirmed that virtual learning days are a possibility. Though as a district, we want to ensure that's very intentional and not just, it's a virtual learning day with no accountability across the board for students and staff too.
And I would agree, Angie, that if we have any more snow days, it would make sense to leave that Monday alone and go Tuesday, Wednesday versus just coming back for Tuesday.
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion?
So is that a different motion there?
Yeah, you would have to make a motion to amend, or amend the motion rather. Yeah.
But we would have to, if we were going to add another day anyway, we would have to do another approval for a calendar change. So,
And that approval could come after other snow days that potentially could happen.
right.
We could revisit this motion. If this motion that's on the floor passes tonight, it can be revisited at a later date to take this day back off the calendar.
Okay, so I just feel that's unfair to our staff and family. If
Okay.
they have the day off, or they don't have the day off, they have off, they don't have off, you know, that's,
You can entertain an amendment to the motion that's on the floor.
okay. I'll make the amendment to the motion that's on the floor. And how, how do I want to say this?
I don't know.
The,
We want to be flexible on the snow day.
yeah,
So to amend the motion, you have to use the verbiage in the motion
great.
and change a few words or insert a few words. Take out or insert. You cannot change the entire motion, or you'll be offering a substitutionary motion.
Okay, so I'm struggling here. If
Okay.
anyone wants to jump in. So I move to approve, see, how do I want to say this? Because without it being a whole new motion.
The problem is you don't know how many days you're gonna add, so.
Right,
If you want it to be the day in May, you need to do the May date instead of
Okay.
this date.
okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so,
So could we move
You want it to say,
to,
so we need to say, I move to approve converting May 27th, 2025 to an instructional day. Is that right?
Let me read it.
That's the day after Memorial Day.
Is that confirmed the day after Memorial Day?
Just one second.
Couldn't you just have the motion read that
It's a professional.
you move to approve that future snow days be instructional days
at the end of the year?
following May 20?
That's a whole.
Well, that would be a substitutionary motion. So we would need to deal with this amendment first, if that's the route that she wants to go.
And May 27th is a professional development day.
May 27 is a professional development day.
So can I do a substitute, a sub?
You have the floor. You can change and do a substitutionary motion because we haven't clearly defined what an amendment is. So you can do a substitutionary motion.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Scratch that, I'll do a substitute.
Okay.
So I move that any future snow days are moved to the end of May 2025.
May 28th, actually.
Okay,
Are moved to the end of the school calendar year.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I have written down, and Deanna, you can help me, is I move that any future snow days are moved to the end of the school calendar year.
Correct.
Now, I just want to caution you,
Can I ask a question?
wait one second. I want to caution you on this substitutionary motion because that does not include April 21. That would still leave April 21 because you said any future snow days.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm going to say
so,
the same thing.
yeah, but
Which would be all right.
April 21st is already a scheduled day off.
No, the scheduled day off is to make up a past snow day, not a future snow day.
Okay,
I know it sounds technical, but we have to make it germane to what we're talking about.
okay, including,
That was appropriate.
You could say I move that any snow days exceeding
okay,
the allowable snow days.
yes.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
okay.
Start writing with a pencil.
Yeah.
Okay, so your motion, your substitutionary motion would be, I move that any snow days exceeding the allowable snow days be moved to the end of the school calendar year.
Yes.
Is that your substitution, motion?
Yes.
Okay, you got that all?
No.
Let me read it again. I move that any snow days exceeding the allowable snow days be moved to the end of the school calendar year. That would include that past snow day, because that past snow day exceeded.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, hold on. So, I move to approve any snow days exceeding the allowable snow days to be moved to the end of the school year calendar.
School calendar
School
year.
calendar year.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So what does that mean for April 21st?
Well, let's just handle this substitutionary motion first.
Can I speak to that?
Does everybody understand the substitutionary motion?
That question.
Okay, you can speak to it, and you can answer that question in your statement.
Okay, so April 21st, or no. Yes, April 21st would remain off for students and staff. Then when they come at the end of May, so Memorial Day is May 26th, Monday, so the 27th would be,
That is a scheduled professional development.
yep, so the students would have off, but staff would be here for the PD day. And then any additional days after that is when the snow days would be made up.
Okay, so the question I have for this, for the administration is, does that interfere with any contractual days with or with teacher contracts? No, it does not. Okay.
I have one comment, just food for thought if I can.
Wait, just hold your comment. We'll make sure Angie's completely done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, go ahead, Bobby.
I'm just concerned about what attendance is going to look like on the 28th of May. Or 29th possibly too.
I'll play devil's advocate here, too. I would be concerned about what the attendance is going to look like on April 21st.
For students and staff.
Yeah, it could be either way. Scott, go ahead.
I would agree with that. It's going to be a concern either way. But I think the effort of those who attend in April will be higher than the effort of those who attend in May. Just from past experience. You add those days on at the end of the year, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare. That's all I'm saying.
For all concerned.
Any other discussion or questions of the substitutionary motion?
What happens to the professional development day? Is it one where speakers are coming in that would have to be rescheduled, or is it just a staff day?
The professional development will be wrapping up the end of the year data and closing out continuous improvement plans and things of that sort.
And it would remain on the 27th.
Yes.
Glenda, do you have a strong opinion on this, one way or the other? Because I don't necessarily.
Well, I do agree. I think that either way, but I agree with what Scott said about, I think that the attendance in May after Memorial Day and the kids being out that weekend and the following 27th, to get them to come back in for one day is likely not going to happen very fruitfully.
Unless you come up with a list of 100 that you tell to stay home.
Well, unless there, I mean, there's more than one day too. I mean, that, we have that possibility as well.
Right.
I think
Now
it's a
s-
different situation if there's more than one day.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
as it stands,
Yeah.
it's one day.
Yeah, that'll change everything.
Yeah, we could be looking at that this Wednesday.
Yeah,
But we could not too.
right.
Snow days are the most difficult decision that a district administrator has to make. And let me just make this known publicly. The school board has no say in snow days.
But we do with makeup days.
We do with makeup days.
So couldn't we just say we stick with the 21st unless we have another snow day before then? Or is that not? do we have
Well,
to be more specific?
we could, but that's not part of the substitutionary motion. We would have
I
to.
was wondering if we could do it.
There's a way to do that. We could pass the substitutionary motion the way that it is, and then amend that substitutionary motion to read whatever you want it to read. Because once we pass the substitutionary motion, it then becomes the main motion, and we have to vote on that one more time. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So if we decide to move the 21st to an instructional day, say there's another motion or something, then I don't think any staff that are not able to come in because they have planned in advance, going off of the set schedule that they had, to take a longer weekend with family and be out of town or something like that, should not be penalized. And we don't have the resources to like have a ton of subs coming in. So, but I don't want our staff to be penalized either.
I agree.
Any other questions or comments of the substitutionary motion?
I just think the argument can go both ways.
Yeah, it's a hard call, yeah.
And I definitely think it's gonna be harder to get students here by extending the school year. I also think kind of shifts the atmosphere and momentum going into the end of the year, possibly for staff too, it just shifts things, but either way, you can have that argument on April or in May.
We'd have to coordinate with the bus company too, wouldn't we?
I still think it's better at the end of, making it up at the end of the school year.
Could be gone driving.
They're planning on being done.
I mean, that's happened in the past, where we've made up snow days at the end of the year. It's not, I mean,
Can you just reiterate what the motion reads and the process for passing or not passing that? Like,
Okay,
is it, you said it becomes then the motion on the,
correct. The substitutionary motion, if passed, then becomes the main motion, which then can be amended again if somebody wants to make an amendment to it. And then we have to go through the process again. So potentially you have two votes before you on this one motion.
what if the present motion fails?
And we go to the original.
Okay.
Yeah, if the substitutionary motion fails, as Dr. Bardo has stated, we go to what was done by,
In the first place?
yes, whomever made that motion. Jill.
Can we, before you call the question, can we poll the, like, rest of the staff in the room? Because I legitimately don't know.
No, I don't think, I think Mrs. Oginski speaks on behalf of the administration, on behalf of her team. I'm sure they've been making eye contact and been speaking through their eyes.
Before we vote, in committee, Ms. Stream did a wonderful job of talking through all of these dynamics and questions, which led to the recommendation of the original motion for April 21st. So I think because we've all expressed different thoughts and opinions, I just want to reassure board members and the community that those same factors, along with many others that have not been brought up, were all considered in the makeup day.
I will also say that Antigo is not unique to this situation. There are other school districts all around us. And if I know our administrator like I think I do, she's been in contact with them and getting ideas of what all the other districts are doing. Doesn't mean we have to follow what other districts do. We seem to be trendsetters here in Antigo. And that's okay, that's great. But these administrators do discuss about plans of what we can do. We don't know what the future holds for the weather. So another snow day comes, we'll have another discussion at another time to make up that particular day. Are there any other questions or discussion of the substitutionary motion on the floor? Okay, Mr. Wilhelm, are we ready? Okay, so the voting device is now open. If you are in favor of the substitutionary motion, which is to make any snow days that exceed the allotted snow days, move them to the end of the school calendar year. If you're in favor of that, it's yes. If you're not in favor of that, it's no.
Is it not coming up there?
All right, would anyone like to change their vote? All right, the vote is now closed. And we lost the vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 against and 1 in favor. The substitutionary motion fails. We will now go back to the main motion given by Mrs. Jill Maddick Nelson. I move to approve converting April 21, 2025 from a non-attendance day to an instructional day. Any discussion of the motion now on the floor?
I do have a question.
Question.
I would support what Angie mentioned in saying that there's a good possibility that it may be skeletal staff if there had already been plans in motion, and so I would support that, and I would hope that we could work that out with our staffing.
Yeah, I strongly feel like our staff should not be penalized because this was on the calendar.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I
At the
don't
start of
think-
the school year.
If you got a plane ticket, you shouldn't
Yeah.
be asked.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Is there a way to know? Well, never, that's not a relevant question.
This isn't relevant.
That's not a relevant question.
Well, I guess I would put it in context too of other businesses and organizations, such as like Storm Trouble. Well, you're not planned to be in, but you may have to cancel vacation or come in outside of work hours. So although it would be unfortunate, and I'm not taking an opinion one way or another, I'm just broadening it to there are situations where you unfortunately are unable to follow through with plans due to the needs within your role. So for whatever that's worth, I, again, don't have an opinion, but wanted to share.
I guess bosses on that would probably be have 50% one way, 50% the other. I don't think you'd have across-the-board business guys, depending who you work for. I'd like to treat them with respect.
Any other questions or discussion of the motion on the floor? Hearing no questions or further discussion, the voting device is now open. If you are in favor of, it's yes. If you're opposed, it's no. Okay, now the voting device is open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed. And the motion carries with 8 in favor and 1 against. Moving to item B, Start College Now. I will be looking for a motion.
I move the board to approve the Start College Now applications for the fall 2025 semester.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would like to share and congratulate and express appreciation for the high school staff. There are 56 students enrolled for the fall. Start College Now and Setstream, please correct me if I get any of these numbers wrong. 56 enrolled for the fall Start College Now program. To put into context the hard work from our staff at the high school. In the fall of last year, there were 19 students. In 2023, there were 16 students. 2022, 5 students. And fall of 2021, there was 1 student. So a lot of intentional focus in promoting this and expanding awareness to students who are taking the opportunity. And then this comes before the board by date determined within state statute, right? Yep, so it routinely comes to us. I was just expressing the progress with that program and shout out to the high school staff.
Okay, any other questions or discussion of the motion on the floor?
We actually have a student taking pluralism for educators?
Pluralism for educators, that's nice. Scott, since you have the list open, would you kindly read that list of what is available?
Welding, CNA, business marketing, computer illustrations, digital marketing, psychology, intro to diversity studies, phlebotomy, anatomy and physiology, animal biology, entrepreneurship fundamentals, introduction to diversity studies, statistics, AutoCAD 2 for architectural design, fluid power systems, counseling skills, media terminology, appreciation and history of music, pluralism for educators, intro to professional nursing, and political science.
That's a great list for all 56 of those students.
What is phlebotomy?
Blood. Drawing blood.
Lab work.
Okay, if there are no other
Got a line
questions,
for that one, JD.
no other questions or discussion of the motion on the floor to approve the Start College Now applications for the fall of 2025, the voting device is open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote's now closed. And the motion passes. High School Course Handbook, I will be looking for a motion.
I move to approve the recommended updates to the Inigo High School course catalog as presented.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion?
This was also brought forth with a lot of feedback or engagement with Ms. Boardman regarding the handbook. Recommendation was to bring to the full board.
Are there any questions or comments of the motion on the floor to approve the high school course catalog as presented? Hearing no questions or comments, the voting device is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed. And the motion carries. Letter D, 4K All Saints contract. I will be looking for a motion.
I move to approve the 2025-2026 4K program contract between USDA and All Saints for 1 year.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion, please?
There's been a lot of work done on the back end to just review the contract language. With new administration coming in, there were questions that were had reviewing the contract in the past. So we just cleaned up language, not just for us, but also for All Saints too. And then if the motion is approved tonight, it will then be taken to All Saints to review and discuss that contract. And then should All Saints sign it, would be that would move forward. If not, it would likely come back to the board for further discussion.
Correct. Any questions or comments of the motion on the floor?
Did you originally, there was more of a tuition increase, we just couldn't afford that, or why we'd lower it? Wasn't it originally a 5% increase from last year?
Stutzring, would you like to come and speak to that?
Can I just provide a clarifying point? So when we looked at the motion from the previous meeting, because I had to kind of wondered why we were looking at it again, all our previous motion did was allow Amy to go forward with creating a contract.
Yes. So last year, there was a 6% increase that All Saints asked for, and I brought that to the board of a 6% increase. They also wanted a full-day program paid for. That was both, it was said no to those, and that we would stick with the regular, the 1,118 per pupil for the contract. So that's what I stuck with this year, brought it back to you to see if there was any changes that wanted to be made before I present it to All Saints and Mr. Galuska, so that he can look through it, we can talk through the contract on his end.
Because we did figure out we make a bunch of money on this, right?
I don't know if I would say bunch of money.
We did figure out that it is advantageous for the district, and also obviously very beneficial for us in the district to continue a very strong partnership with them. So to answer your question, yes, there are benefits to both us and them that we have well explored and did a deep dive into. The only, I guess, pending component aside from the board vote is if the state were to come back to say, have feedback, you know, that could impact anything the board decides. But aside from that, due diligence has been done on our end. We're just moving forward with the ability to present it to All Saints.
So it's the same contract from last year to this year. The part that was added that there were some questions in committee around was the second bullet in the first page around the student contact time and the parent outreach activities. That looks a little bit different, but it looks different on our end here in Antigo as well. So we're just tracking that parent outreach because we do have to provide that if we do get audited for our membership audit of the number of hours that we're doing for parent outreach for 4K. So we just submitted ours for Anago, and what I realized looking through the contract is we never have even told All Saints that they need to do that. So not anything wrong on their end, they didn't even know. So I'll sit down with Mr. Galuska and walk through what that looks like, so that if we do get audited for some of that, we can make sure that we have all of that documented appropriately, so that we don't have to then go back and try to figure out what date was that, when did you have 4K come in, when did you send out that, like, parent communication, that we have it documented along the way. We just had to do that in Anago and like backtrack a little bit. So moving forward, I want to make sure everyone with the 4K program is on the same page.
The other thing is we officially restricted the number of students.
Yeah,
this
to
year,
20,
right?
which is what it's always been. It's just never been
Enforced.
enforced.
So I would just clarify, or whatever the word is that I want at the moment, that we aren't restricting. That has always, we've always had a cap in the contracts. That hasn't been respected both from us and from them, so that's a mutual thing.
So what's the point of changing it?
Because we're going to say it's at 20 now.
Because if we have a contract in place regardless of who it's with, I would anticipate the full board would say we should be following what the contractual agreement states versus we'll follow this contract, but we're gonna not follow this one over here. Like, that just doesn't make sense, so.
There were some other things like, well, we'll just throw in instructional coaching and we'll just throw, if there's a contract, we have to follow it. And if we want to change that contract, great, we will follow the changes then. But when you're looking at some of the contracts that were written, and then you go to actual practice of what was happening, those two did not align. So we just want to make sure that if we're signing it, my name's on it, right? And Ms. Oginski signs it, then I'm going to pretty sure that I'm following everything in here. And when I looked at it and it wasn't, I'm not putting my name on something like that.
Right, it's just weird, but normally when both sides agree and don't follow the language of the contract, that what the actions of the parties reflect is what becomes the contract.
Right.
You know, so I don't know that I feel the need to cap it. How big are our 4Ks?
Mine's sitting at East are 15.
Okay.
Ms. Oginski's
Mine's
at North
at
is one
23.
combined, so it's 23 or 24.
23.
West has, I think they're at 17 or 18.
So would it be beneficial to make that one class size smaller and the one at All Saints bigger, or no?
All Saints wouldn't have to cap at 20. All Saints could take as many kids as they want. The contract would just say,
We are fiscally going to pay for those 20. They could have 48 if they felt like it. I don't know if you want to be with 48 4Kers, but they can have as many as they want. This is our fiscal responsibility that we're in contractual agreement with them, that this is what we're going to follow. They can, on their end, you know, open their program up to however many they want.
I will also share that I followed up with Mr. Gluska. I had prior conversations with him regarding this and follow-up from the committee meeting as well. The previous language is within the previous contract language was actually developed prior to Mr. Galuska coming to All Saints. So when I talk about the language and just clearing it up, like, that has just been passed on year after year and without either of us intentionally looking at it. So when you talk about capping at 20, who knows who put that number in? But it's been in there for a very long time. It
So when
wouldn't
I
cap
came on
them.
board and they're like, sign this, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not putting my name on something that's a contract if it's not gonna be followed, or else we change it to what we agree to follow it on. We work really well with All Saints. We supply title support for them as well. Last year, because when I was first here, our title support started a little bit late. We actually over-serviced their title program with a lot more hours than they were legally allowed to have through our title grant, because we wanted to make sure that they knew that we support them. So they actually got more title support than they should have last year. So it's not like, I just want people to realize that we work really hand in hand with All Saints on a lot of things, and with our title grant, with the 4K program, that no one's out to get anyone. We are really in tandem with what's going on and how to support. When they had a needs assessment and had more students who needed title support, we gave more support on our end for that, which took away from Anago students. I still send my East title teacher to All Saints every day. At the end of the day, she does so many hours per the title grant so that those students there that are under the needs assessment can have what they need around reading support. So we work hand in hand with them. I'll be meeting with Mr. Gluska coming up in the next month. He doesn't know it yet. Around the affirmations for our title grant for the following year. We're gonna sit down and go through the plan, so.
So parochial schools do, or is it just in 4K, or are we talking like?
So just with All Saints, we have a 4K program agreement, the contract that you see in front of you.
Right.
But for all the parochial schools, we provide title support.
Okay,
So we send a teacher to them.
That's federal.
That's federal, yeah.
Okay, so they do provide assessments?
Yeah, we do a
And
needs
interventions, or no?
Yep, we do a needs assessment. We look at our time that we allow for the title grant. We send a teacher over. We have quality interventions that the teacher provides those students. We take data. We look through it. As students gain the reading knowledge that they need, we pull in other kids, just like we do here in Anago.
Okay. So if a student were to have difficulties, and it was found while they were at, say, All Saints or something, it would not be, they would get the help that they needed with it through interventions and stuff? They wouldn't have to move over to the public school?
But it also is dependent upon what their needs assessment is. So they choose that. They don't necessarily use the same needs assessment that we use. Our benchmark assessment, FastBridge, is part of that. So whatever process they use, they get to choose that. We don't have a say in that, and it's not like what we do in the public school.
So they choose whatever assessment they want to use. One parochial school actually uses FastBridge, so it's nice if we have a student who transfers over, we just ask them, can we have their last FastBridge results? So now we know as they come to Anago where we need to place them. Others use the MAP, the NWA testing that we kind of all used in the past. Another one's using the STAR assessment. So they all use the same, whatever assessment they choose to use. We just look at that data, compile our needs assessment, and make sure we're supplying the students who have that significant reading gap with title support based on what's allowed within the grant.
Okay.
So, and I say all that just to say that we do have a working relationship with All Saints around not just 4K contract, but with many other things.
Any other questions or comments? I will be very cautious of the board. We're straying just a little bit from the contract. We need to be talking about the contract. Any other questions? All right, hearing none. You are voting on approving the 25-26 4K program contract between the Unified School District of Antigo and All Saints for 1 year. The voting device is open. Would anyone like to change their vote? All right, the vote is now closed. Okay, the motion carries with 8 passing and 1 abstaining. Deanna, are we moving too fast for you to catch the names of who?
Nope.
Okay. Letter E, transportation bids and contracts. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board approve Lamers to be the Unified School District of Anago's transportation contractor as presented.
Motion has been made by Dave. Would you like to speak to your motion, please?
I've worked with Lamers before, and they're a good company, and at this point, I'll turn it over to
All right. So
Jakob.
I do want to start just by saying that I feel very fortunate that we did get 3 high-quality contractors interested and submit bids on this. I called and invited all the busing companies within the state, some even out of state, and these are the 3 that did submit bids, and I'm very happy because I feel like they were 3 extremely highly qualified companies, very reputable, more than capable of servicing our needs. So I'm very thankful for all their time and efforts in bidding in this. And then also just with our current contractor, Malliettes, you know, they have been a great partner over the years. And they just feel like it's time for them to, take a different path in life. I think that's, commendable for them to find a way to exit business, and I wish them the best. Nothing, against us or against them. It's just their time to move on, so, they certainly have been a great contractor for us over the years, and I thank them for that. But, at this time, it's best decision for them to go a different direction, so. That being said, we have the three amounts that I shared with you. I did share the full electronic documents. I don't know if any of you reviewed all of them. Some are quite lengthy. It took a while, so I tried to do a quick analysis from, you know, trying to compare apples to apples, and really, when you look at the three contractors, as I said, they are more than capable. They're all very large companies. There's relatively, all of them have locations within an hour of us. So they know the area to some extent. They have other resources closer. The one company that kind of stuck out different in that regard was Lamers. They have more locations closer to us, such as Elko, White Lake, DC Everest, Mosinee, Leona, I believe. And they have a lot of resources very close to us, and they are in our region. You know, anytime you get north of that Highway 29, sometimes that does change weather and road conditions and things like that. So, that's kind of a line that people keep in mind when they talk about weather and road conditions, so. That was, one thing to note. The other one is Lamer seems to be on the leading edge of technology. They offered a lot of software that will help us, not only schedule events, but also communicate with our families. They have ability to have a parent app that allows them to hop on, look at where their student's bus is, and be able to tell, you know, is the bus just delayed a couple minutes, or you know, did my kid miss the bus today? Things like that. So I think that that's a very good convenience thing for parents. They also have technology that kids can have a swipe, like a RFID card or like our fob system that we can issue to them. They can swipe on and off the bus every day. That really helps with tracking. Again, parents can see my child swiped on the bus, my child got off here. There is the ability that information does get preloaded into there, so in the event that a child loses or forgets their card that day, bus drivers can still operate with that same system. They have a kind of a tablet installed in each of the buses that they operate that off of, and it helps efficiently make sure that kids get where they belong. Sometimes we've had issues where a younger kid maybe doesn't communicate well for whatever reason, ends up on the wrong bus, the bus driver maybe didn't notice, they get to the transfer at the middle school, things get confused, especially off the get-go. Technologies like this will really help streamline those processes and us quickly be able to respond if there is an issue. It's unfortunate when those things happen, but everybody's human, and they do happen. We certainly try to put as many safeguards in place, and this is just another one that we can offer to our families and our students. That being said, all that technology was included in Lamer's bid. That was unique to the other two. Some of the technology was included in the others, but not all of it, and that would have came at an extra price. So I think that to kind of set them apart from what they're offering when you compare apples to apples theory. Then when you look at the pricing, I shared with you guys the pricing analysis. That was just a quick spreadsheet that listed the three companies. And basically, sorry, my computer fell asleep. You know, if you look at column B, that shows our current amount. that does not reflect any increase that, say, if Mallett's would have stayed on this year, you know, they certainly would have had a minimum 4%. That's pretty standard. The thing to note that obviously we're at the end of a 5-year contract, so that would have been a rebid process, and talking with Tim at Mallett's, when you look at what, you know, has happened in that busing manufacturing parts world over the last 3 to 4 years, you know, a bus used to cost somewhere around that $60,000 to $80,000 to buy. That's doubled by now. I mean, it's pushing that $160,000, $170,000 for a bus. Parts obviously follow that same trend. Insurance, as everybody knows, with their own policies, is going through the roof. And when you start looking at these smaller, you know, what Tim refers to himself as, and I do, you know, these mom and pop type companies, the buying power just isn't there. So when you look at what he probably would have had a bid, it certainly would not be anywhere near 4 to 5% increase. It would have been much higher than that. But this is the number I had from them, so I wanted that as kind of our gauge to compare what increases we're gonna have for next year. So, although those percent changes in column E are higher than anybody would want, I certainly don't think that it's unreasonable given what that market has done. And even if Mallett's were around, I would expect to see them in that same range.
I have relatives in Rylander, and what they told me is, Bowen was gonna quit too, but they gave him a 30% raise, so he stayed.
30%,
I mean, we
yeah.
can't keep doing that kind of stuff forever. So I think this is, and as a former coach, the technology, when you're coming home from, say, Rapids and the parents can see where you're at, you know, because there's a lot of nights where, as a coach, you sit and wait if mom and dad don't know where the bus is, and you can't just get off the bus and see you guys later. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback on what Scott talked about with the, are you ready for questions?
Whatever.
If you're not, that's okay.
You're in charge.
Okay, well,
I'm good with whatever.
with the athletics that you have, our district uses currently Lamer's motor coach buses.
Correct.
I know the other two companies has motor coach buses as well. What would be costs of the motor coach buses, or is there a savings? Because through the grapevine, I hear that if Lamer's has a contract with a particular school, there's a great savings on using their motor coach services.
Yeah, they added that as a value offer within their documents, that they would provide coach bus upgrades at about 50% the normal cost, so.
So that would be a savings to our Gridiron Club, Blue
Yep.
Line Club, those student clubs.
That's the lowest bid.
If the local drivers still want to work with the new company, is that an option, or will they all be coming in from out of town, or?
All three of them have very similar philosophies in that. Drivers are always kind of the variable that worries anybody. You know, buses, you can buy buses, you can have backup buses, people you can't. So their intent is to try and retain every single one of the drivers, you know. Each driver that currently here is obviously gonna have their own decision to make, but they will certainly be wanted. And I did talk with them about when you look at how they handle like recruitment practices, training, incentives, driver education, wages, all three of them had very good plans for that. They're gonna come in and look at what these drivers are making. They're gonna make sure that they keep them whole. They're gonna try and do the best wages they can. All three of these companies have huge departments that take care of just drivers, help them with their trainings, their educations, their certifications. And really, I mean, they know that that's their lifeblood. They have to do everything they can to service those drivers. So I think overall, and I've had this conversation with Mallett's for years, you know, that's always one of the variables that worries everybody in that industry. These bigger companies are just equipped better because they have, you know, I think one of the companies has 1,700 buses. Like, they have whole departments just to help out one aspect of the driving world. They have recruitment departments. I mean, that's just stuff that unfortunately, over the years, these smaller companies, they don't have the overhead available to do those types of things. They don't have a recruitment department, you know, and they've done wonderful through the years. But, as times change,
We don't have any choice,
industries change.
right?
What's that?
We don't have a choice.
Right, and, you know, so these bigger companies are finding ways to make it more attractive for drivers, so they're gonna try and keep every single one that they can, but ultimately, that's up to each individual driver.
JD, another great benefit for these larger companies, because I know these three companies, two of them a whole lot better than one, is the fact that they have more benefits to offer the employees because they have a larger pool of employees across not just the state, but the nation. Some of these companies go farther out than just Wisconsin. So there may even be more benefits than what a mom and pop like Tim and Carmen, and they've done a great job servicing our district, can offer employees.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, again, I just wanna stress, you know, Mallette's has done a wonderful job. This isn't anything, you know, I've had this conversation with them a lot, and they're the first to say that, you know, the way the industry's going, it's just not advantageous with a small one building company. It's just, they struggle to keep up with the buying power is really what it boils down to. So I wanna make sure that that's very clear, that Mallette's is a wonderful company. It's not that they're not being able to provide anything, it's just the way that the industry's gone. And, it aligns right with them for their personal decisions as well, so.
Can we call the question?
I'll hold on to that for just a moment because we've only had 2 or 3 board members to speak. So I want to entertain any of the board members to speak on this before we call the question. So any of the board members have not spoken, which would be everybody except for JD, Scott, and myself.
Just quickly to Tim and Carmen, they have serviced our district for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head,
That
sorry.
is my point right there. So thank you very much to Malliett for servicing the Unified School District of Antigo so diligently
My entire life.
for a very long time. That is a very difficult business to be in. We appreciate your employees, the bus drivers that we trust to transport our children to and from. That is a significantly important component of successful education, is getting children to and from school safely. That is not an easy task. It's often scrutinized. And I appreciate their working relationship with our district, and notifying you in advance. I wish them, on behalf of the board, we wish them the best in their future endeavors, both personally and professionally. And again, thank you for serving the Unified School District of Antigo so diligently over the many years.
Jill and the rest of the board members may not realize this, but in 2015, we had 2 bus companies that was servicing the district. And the district went to 1 bus company, and Tim and Carmen and Malliett won that bid of the 1 bus company. So prior to Tim and Carmen, we had Ron and Kathy Nonamaker with Mid-Wisconsin Buses. And Ron has been in the business with this district for over 50-plus years, along with Tim and his family who had Malliett. So it's been, as I heard Scott say, his lifetime. It's been a long time since Malliett and Mid-Wisconsin Buses served the Antigo School District. So to both of these families, Ron and Kathy and Tim and Carmen, you served us very well and with distinction and honor. And I'm glad that Tim and Carmen, another local company, won that bid, and it wasn't outsourced at that time. But we've come to this day, and we knew that this was coming sooner or later, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then I think we will vote on the motion on the floor. The motion on the floor is to approve Lamers to be the Unified School District of Antigo's transportation contractor as presented. The voting device is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? Okay, the vote is now closed. And the motion passes. Okay, letter F, just stay right there, Mr. Leiderman. High school gym floor resurfacing. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board approve Baseman Brothers in the amount of $66,071, pending they can meet the scheduling requirements.
Motion has been made by Dr. Bardo. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Just turn it over to our guy.
I added the pending the scheduling requirement because we have ideal time slot within our busy summer and sports schedule. And I do not have 100% confirmation that that is locked in their schedule yet. So I just wanted to leave that in there, that if for some reason they could not fit that window, I would be looking to another company that could. But I would suspect that they'll be fine and can work with us on that.
Any questions of the motion on the floor?
How often do we do it?
It's variable on use, you know, anywhere between that, I think that the average is, like 7 to 13 years is what they recommend in the industry. We're pushing closer to 15. The more times you sand it down, the less life you get out of it. But there's also a danger in waiting too long, because then more damage could be done, which would cause you to have to sand more off each time, which would shorten the life. So, ideally, I think this should have been done probably last year, but with the referendum stuff, obviously one of the more expensive option in the referendum included this in the scope. So until we found out how that fell, we elected to wait, so. But
Do any of the clubs that use our gyms contribute to this? Center court, track field, volleyball?
there's no money dedicated to go towards this project. I know that there's been some discussions on making the court look, you know, aesthetically more pleasing, whether it's from a staining option or a letter font or any type of picture. I mean, they get pretty elaborate, you know, if you look at like NBA courts. In the event that they wanted something elaborate, I think that extra would be something that these clubs could elect to fundraise for and possibly improve. That's not the case that I'm aware of at this point, and they could elect to change that. I mean, it'd obviously be an increase in the cost, but that would be on them. This is kind of the base. If you look at the design, it's nothing too fancy, but they may elect to come forward and want to do that if they want.
That's just improving visual appearances up, but, right? That's what you're
Correct.
saying, yeah.
Yes, just visual.
Any other questions or comments of the motion on the floor? All right, hearing no other questions or comments, the voting device is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? Okay, the vote is now closed. And the motion carries. Letter G, report of donations. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board to approve the following donations: $5,000 from Covantage Cares Foundation for Aquatic Center, $500 from Kautza Excavating LLC for 4K and first grade classes at West Elementary, and $1,000 from Brickner's for Auto Service Tech.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion?
We appreciate the donations from our community partners. Thank you very much.
Any discussion or question of the motion on the floor? Hearing no discussions or question of the motion on the floor, the voting device is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed. And the motion carries. We do thank a very generous community. Before I go to item number 6, closed session, I do want to draw attention to one of our board members sitting at the table tonight. This board member has served our board and our school district for the last 3 years, and she has decided that she is hanging up the hat and no longer running for the board. So Angie Schreiber, this is your last official full board meeting, but I want to invite you to come to the April meeting, and you can take your seat at the board table until whomever is elected fills your seat. So please be invited to come to the April meeting, take your seat at the board table, and then we'll do a transfer of your seat to somebody else. So let's recognize Angie Schreiber tonight for her dedication and commitment for the last 3 years. Having said that, item 6, closed session. Consideration of a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute numbers 19.85, subsection 1, sub C, and sub F, for purposes of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and for purposes of considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons, except where paragraph B applies, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigations, to wit, discussion and possible action on the issuance of preliminary notice or notices of non-renewal of a school district employee or employee's employment contract or contracts. I will be looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Jill. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Scott. We need a roll call, please.
I know.
Dr. Barto,
Yes.
Bobby Brown,
Yes.
Jill Maddick Nelson,
Yes.
Krista Matt Miller,
Yes.
Scott Peterson,
Yes.
Catherine Solon,
Yes.
Angie Schreiber,
Yes.
JD Schrader. Yes. Danny Pyatt.
Yes, we are now in closed session. Let's take a little break.